Hello and welcome to another episode of Casual Learning. I am your host, John Bannan. So, what's the deal with high school track and field coaches? It's a crapshoot who your high school track and field coach is. It's going to depend on what school you go to. And whoever the track and field coach is at that school, that's your track and field coach. So who are these track and field coaches anyway? Generally speaking, they're teachers in the school. At least the head coach. So it might be a math teacher. Now, this person may be a great math teacher, but that doesn't mean they're a great track and field coach. So why do these track positions, head coaching positions, go to teachers? Why don't they go to people who have a lot more experience, training, and knowledge in track and field? Well, the answer is easy. The teacher works at the school, and the teacher knows everybody in the school, all the administrators, maybe some important alumni, the other teachers, the athletic director. So a teacher really has an inside lead to coaching positions. And that gives them a huge advantage over an outsider trying to get the same position. Now, why would a math teacher be interested in coaching, let's say, track and field? Money. It's money. The teachers get supplemental incomes for taking charge of certain after-school activities. Something like track and field would be an after-school sports activity. And these teachers get paid to do this. Now, they don't all get paid the same amount. That's going to be between the teacher and the school. But it can be, it can be as little as a few $1,000s to as much as, $10,000, $20,000 to do something like that, depending on whether you're also the coach for all 3 seasons: cross country, indoor track, outdoor track. So the primary reason your head track coach is doing coaching is for the money. Main reason, for the money. Now, that's not to belittle some of the others who may be tangentially involved in a track and field program, such as assistant coaches or volunteer assistant coaches. Those people, they may not be getting paid anything, or they may be getting paid a little bit, but they may have a lot more experience than the teacher who's running the track and field program. Okay, so that's just the way it goes. If you get a head track and field coach who really knows what he or she is doing, despite the fact that they're really just a teacher from the school, you're in luck. But chances are you're not going to get that lucky. There's a broad spectrum in terms of the quality of a head track and field coach or a track and field coach that you might get, on one end of the spectrum, you could have a coach who is a perennial state championship coach. You know, the guy's got 150 runners on his team. His team is always vying for a state track and field or a cross-country championship. And he's also a track and field guru, known maybe even throughout the country. Maybe he gives talks on track and field and his specialties, and this guy knows a lot. For instance, in distance running, one of those gurus would be a guy named Jack Daniels. But there's other gurus out there. So on the one end of the spectrum, your head coach could be one of those guys. If you got that guy, wow, you won the lottery. You really did. But on the other side of the spectrum, you could have coaches who they're just there to pick up their extra supplemental income, and they're really just there to chaperone the kids in the after school activity, babysit them basically. They don't really know a whole lot about what they're coaching, and they don't really care to learn a lot about what they're coaching. Although some of them may try to make you think that they know a lot about what they're coaching. Sure, if I can get you to think I know a lot about it, then you're going to ask me a whole lot less questions, and I'll have a whole lot less explaining to do, right? That helps me. So there's a broad spectrum of quality coaching, and it's really a matter of luck what you get, or maybe you transfer to a specific school because of their coach, or you go to a private school because of their coach. If you could do that, then you're better off than just playing the lottery and the statistical odds of getting who knows what as a coach. So, there's a big difference between serious runners and not serious runners. Serious runners are people who are striving to become elite runners based on the elite times, for instance, that you could find on milesplit.com. Serious runners run every day almost and are concerned about their training program, and they want to get better, and they do everything you need to do to get better, and they learn about their sport, and they have plans to run in college, maybe at a higher level or highest level, a high level NCAA D1 school. Okay. That's a serious runner. It's okay. I mean, it's okay to be a serious runner. You can often spot the serious runner because they're the one with the GPS watch. But they're a serious runner, and that's to be encouraged. God bless them. I hope they do well. And then you have the not so serious runner, and it's okay to be that as well. Maybe you just run because you like to run, or maybe you want some sort of after-school activity that you can tell colleges that you were involved in, or maybe you just want to socialize with some people who are on that team, or who knows? Maybe you want to lose weight, or you want to stay in shape. There's other reasons to be on a track team or cross-country team besides you're a serious runner and you want to be an elite runner. There's other good reasons for doing it. And that's fine too. But in terms of coaching, the quality of your coach really impacts the serious runner. It doesn't impact the non-serious runner because the coach isn't so good. What difference does it make anyway, right? Does it matter? You're not planning to run in college anyway, or you don't really care that much about the sport. But the quality of the coach can really, really impact the career of a serious runner. And if you're a serious runner, you got to take your coaching seriously, because you have to learn a lot about running and running well if you want to be a great runner. It's just not going to happen while you're running and you're standing there and you're not thinking about anything and poof, all of a sudden you're a great runner. It doesn't happen like that. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of development that has to take place. And the best place to get all that information is from your coach. So the quality of the coach can impact the career of a serious runner immensely. Now, if your coach is not that good and you're still a serious runner, well, guess what? You're going to have to learn this stuff either on your own, or you can hire a supplemental coach. There usually are outside individuals who, they'll charge you an hourly rate and they'll coach you and they'll train you. And a lot of the good runners or good throwers, field athletes, good cross-country runners, they hire these specialized outside coaches, supplemental coaches, and it makes them a lot better, because these guys usually have a lot more experience than your coach, and they know a lot more. And they take it seriously, much more seriously maybe than your coach does. Although maybe you got a great coach who takes it really seriously. And you don't need a supplemental coach. Hey, that'd be great. You won't have to spend all that money, right? Or your parents wouldn't have to spend it. But you always have the option of supplemental coaching. And hopefully your head coach at your school understands why you're going to a supplemental coach and agrees to work with that supplemental coach, within reason. And hopefully they don't, they understand why you're doing it and they don't get hostile over the thing or insulted or they take it personally. Hopefully they don't do that. All right, so track and field coaches. Well, there are a lot of events in track and field, a lot, and cross country. Broadly speaking, there's sprints, there's distance, there's cross country, there's field events, right? So there's a whole lot of events to know something about. In sprinting you have, the 55, the 100, the 200, the 400, all sorts of relays. In distance you could have, the 800, the 1600 or the mile, the 2 mile, 3Ks, 5Ks, 10Ks. Cross country is a 5K, but it's a specialized sort of 5K over terrain. Then you got all the field events, shot put, discus, javelin, the throw, pole vault, long jumping, triple jumping. Oh, I forgot to mention hurdles. There's also hurdles, steeplechase. There are a lot of events in track and field, and it's basically impossible to be a master coach at all of these events. So your head coach may be pretty good at one event, coaching one event or two, but chances are your head coach is not going to be a master at every track and field event there is. And if you want to become an elite runner, you need a master coaching you or teaching you what to do. If you have a generalist, somebody has a general idea how things are done, you're in trouble. And chances are your head coach is a generalist. Maybe not. Maybe you're in an event he knows a lot about. Maybe you get lucky. But you may not get lucky. But you still need that information and that knowledge to become a great runner. The coach hopefully is honest with you. That's the first hallmark of a good coach. They're honest. They don't sugarcoat things or not tell you something you need to know. And hopefully they know what they're talking about and they tell you the truth. Because, you don't want to go on for years doing something when the truth is you shouldn't be doing that event maybe. You should have been doing something else. So hopefully you have an honest track coach. But a lot of track coaches aren't honest. So, yeah, well, we'll see what you get. Some coaches kind of coach track like you would coach another a team sport, let's say like football, and they might favor the upperclassmen, the seniors, people with seniority, and there's a good reason to do that in certain sports like football, where you could come in as a freshman and have all the talent in the world, but you don't have the experience. Maybe you don't have the size yet, and you have to be developed, and you may not reach your real peak or potential as a football player until your junior or senior year. Track's a little different, though. Track it's based on time. How fast are you? Look at the clock on the wall. How fast did you run that race? So you could come in as a freshman and be wickedly fast. And that means that, generally speaking, you should be running in the big meets immediately because you have the speed. Track and field is not really a team sport like football. There's nobody who's going to pick you up and carry you during a race. There's no way your teammates can really help you all that much during a race. You might be racing in a group and there may be some motivation of chasing somebody else on your team that keeps you running fast during a race, say in cross country. Or maybe there's the relay where you got 4 people running in a row. That's about as close as track gets to a team sport. And you talk about, when you talk about these field events, shot put, discus, javelin, long jump, triple jump, your teammates aren't helping you in that. How can they? It's an individualized event. So track and field is really, I'd say, 70% an individualized sport and maybe 30% team. Okay, but coaches can not quite grasp that fact, and then give seniors the spot in a race due to seniority when they really shouldn't. They should put the fastest runner. That's the thing about track and field and cross country. It's an extremely objective sport. You either throw that distance or you don't. You either run that time or you don't. And everybody knows what you ran and what you threw. And sometimes it's measured electronically. So there's no doubt that that's what you ran. Very objective. And you can measure those times and distances against an objective standard, like elite standards, or, against what the other competitors in a meet did. It's extremely objective. That's a great thing about track and field. It's extremely objective. And if you are the fastest runner on the team, you should be the one who's first running that race or in the lead position. You should be, because you are the fastest. It's very objective. The fastest people should be the ones running. But not all coaches see it that way. That doesn't make any sense. But, these coaches don't make a lot of sense either. And oftentimes, you're dealing with teachers. Now, Maybe these teachers ran when they were younger, or maybe they still run, right? And they think that qualifies them for coaching track and field. Well, it doesn't really. I mean, what qualifies you for track and field as a coach is how much do you know about coaching this particular event or these events? You know, how much certification do you have? Do you take, regular continuing education courses in track and field? Do you? Have you advanced your knowledge or kept current with the most recent knowledge on track and field events? Have you done that? There may be a good chance the answer for your particular high school coach is no, I haven't done that. Or maybe I did that 20 years ago or something like that. So you may run into a coach with a serious deficit in terms of what he or she knows about the current knowledge on a particular event or sport. And these coaches, since their primary motivation is money, lots of people only do the bare minimum in order to get the paycheck and don't expect anything more from them because they're not going to do it. And some people have an attitude where, it's all about them. As a coach, it should be about the runners. It should always be about the runners and developing them and helping them. It shouldn't be about the coach. But you'd be surprised at how many coaches think it's about them. It's not about the runners or the team. It's about them. That's wrong, but you're going to get that. Some coaches are like, well, I only get paid $3,000 to do all this, so don't expect too much out of me. Well, that's an unfortunate attitude, and you're not going to learn a whole lot from somebody with that attitude, because they're not going to be motivated to really learn anything, or maybe to help you out in particular. Again, maybe the supplemental coaching is the route to go, or at least do it yourself. Learn what you can on your own. Unless, of course, you hit the coaching lottery and you got one of these great coaches. And there are logistical problems with coaching. How many people are on the team, right? Some of these track and field teams have enormous numbers of people on it. And the coach only has so much time and isn't going to be able to give you individualized attention. Unless, of course, you're like the fastest runner on the team. So you can imagine, if you're a head coach and you got 100 people on the team, who are you going to focus on, right? You're going to focus on your fastest runners, because those are the runners that you're going to run and that are going to score points for the team. So those people might get some individualized attention. The rest of the people, they may be out of luck. And that's unfortunate. But true, logistically, hopefully you got a coach who likes to give athletes individualized attention. And hopefully you're the fastest runner or one of the fastest runners on the team so you can get that individualized attention. Or maybe it's a small team and you get that individualized attention. Hopefully that's the case for you, but it might not be. So what should a coach be teaching, right? Well, first thing is there are a lot of events in track and field. So hopefully you have more than one coach. Hopefully you have some assistant coaches. Because you want a coach who knows about your particular event and in great detail. You want a specialized coach because there's so many events if you're not specialized, you probably don't know all that much, just some general knowledge. So you really want a coach who knows a lot about your event. All right. So, what should these coaches be teaching you? Well, they should be teaching you everything there is to know about track and field, and more specifically, your event. Everything. Well, unless, of course, you come in with a lot of knowledge in advance. But that's their job. Their job is to teach. That's what a coach is. The coach is a teacher. If your coach is not teaching every day, then you don't have a good coach. You got a chaperone or a babysitter. You don't have a coach. Teaching is what a coach does every day. First question, Coach, hey, what are we doing today and why? A coach should be able to answer that question. And you shouldn't actually have to ask the question. He should volunteer it and tell you, we're going to run, 4 400s today. Why are we doing this? Well, this is some speed development for the mile. The coach should teach you everything there is to know about running. That includes proper running form. That includes concepts like anaerobic and aerobic energy systems and lactic energy. That includes racing strategies, or any of the strategies that go along with any of the track and field events. What you should be doing to develop your body, maybe in weightlifting or some sort of working out on your own. What you should be eating, when you should be eating it. How you prepare for races. I mean, you name it. You name it. A coach should be teaching you these things. Well, part of the problem is this. You come on to a track and field team, and let's say you don't know anything. All right? So you don't know what you don't know. Right? You don't know. You're relying on the coach to be a good coach and to teach you everything. Well, some coaches don't teach you. They don't. And they're relying on the fact that you don't know what you don't know, so you'll never figure out that they're not teaching you anything. So you can get coaches like that. Very lazy coaches or coaches with attitude problems. You can get that. So a good coach should be teaching you something. Every day they should be teaching you. And repeating stuff because apparently you didn't learn it the first time. That's how you know you got at least somebody who cares about you as a runner. And, fundamentally, why does a coach have to be honest? The coach also has to care about you and your development as a runner. There's a lot of coaches who don't care about their runners. They don't care. They're in it for a paycheck or some other, personalized ego issue they may have. But the good coaches care. They care about their athletes. They care about the runners. They want them to develop, become great runners. And if they want to be proud about something, it's that they helped develop this particular great runner. But it's always about the runner or the athlete or the thrower or whatever. It's not about them. That's a good coach. But if you don't have that sort of person, you don't have a good coach. So the coach should teach you about everything. Everything there is to know about running. There's an awful lot. Well, there's an awful lot to know about form, teaching form. Form is a very important aspect of running because it has to do with economy of the energy you use. during a race. And you want all that energy to be used for running forward as fast as you can, not diverted to other things. So the mechanics of your form, your running form, are very important. And there's all sorts of things you have to know about running form and proper mechanics. But your coaches should be teaching you that and having you practice it. You name it. There's everything there is to know about running. A coach should be teaching you about. They should be teaching you about, mile split and how to use that and what runner profiles are under mile split if you're a serious runner, and teaching you how to get recruited by a college coach, if that's your plan. College recruiting really is as simple as running an elite time and having that elite time posted under your profile on milesplit.com. Because the college coaches, they want to see that you run fast. And whether it's at a gold or silver elite level, you get a fat time under your profile that shows at least one time that you ran an elite time. Then these coaches know, well, if you ran it once, you could run it again. Now they're interested. So college coaching, as far as recruiting goes, is pretty simple. It's, did you run a time that gets the attention of a college coach? Okay. Did you run an elite time? Well, okay, let's say you did. Well, the next step is, how do you get that college coach to know that you ran that elite time? Right? Well, you can do a lot of this on your own. Every college track and field program has a recruiting questionnaire on their website. You fill out, get sent to the coach. They'll find out about you, your name, and maybe they'll email you back and talk to you about things. Who knows? There's even recruiting websites that you can sign up for, even free ones like NCSA. And worst case scenario, you can email the track coaches directly and say, hey, I ran so-and-so time. Are you interested in recruiting me? So you can really do the whole recruiting process, letting coaches know that you're interested in being recruited. You can do it on your own. You don't need your head coach or your high school coach to do that for you. And that's important to understand, that your recruiting in terms of colleges is really going to be based on your time, and that you can let these college coaches know about your time yourself. You don't need your high school coach to do that. You don't. And you can be quite successful at getting recruited. You don't need your high school coach to do any of that. So, don't think that, it's the high school coach who's going to get you recruited by, XYZ University. No, not true. You can do it all yourself. You don't need them. High school coaches do have certain connections with certain college track and field coaches, and they can, they can act as sort of an introduction for you to that program. But your running career fate is not in the hands of your high school track and field coach if you know how to go about recruiting yourself. And you can. It's very easy. So don't think that the high school coach has got your college career in his grip, because he doesn't. You don't need him. Don't need him at all to get recruited to college. Don't need him at all. In fact, I would recommend probably doing the recruiting yourself, because then you'll have a broader base of college coaches that might get interested in you, as opposed to just your high school track and field coach who he may favor certain schools over other schools, and maybe you're not interested in those other schools. Sorry, coach, I'm not interested in this school that you happen to like. Sorry, I'm going somewhere else. And you can do it all yourself. What else should a high school track and field coach do? Well, if you're a serious runner, and you want to be an elite runner, or you are an elite runner, you should have an individualized training program for yourself. That means you have some sort of printout that tells you every day, lists every day, and what it is you're doing on that day. And somebody has to figure out, based on you and your event and your strengths and weaknesses, what it is you should be doing. And, elite runners shouldn't have cookie cutter training programs. And, that's one of the problems with high school track programs or cross country programs is the coach may have, dozens of people on the team, and he's responsible for training all of them. So, logistically speaking, he can't devise an individualized training program for every runner. I mean, at best, he might like chop them up into different groups and have the different groups do the same sort of workouts or the same training. But he just, he or she just isn't going to provide you an individualized training program. If he did that for everybody, he would, he'd be working 24/7. He wouldn't even been doing his job as a teacher probably. So that's not going to happen. But as a up-and-coming elite runner, or somebody who wants to be an elite runner, you should make sure you have an individualized training program and get somebody, maybe a supplemental coach, to devise it for you so that you have somebody who knows what they're doing, preparing it for you to follow. And then hopefully your head track and field coach lets you do that during practice instead of the cookie cutter workout he has ready for everybody else. Hopefully you have that sort of cooperation, or you can work it out somehow. Hopefully you do. You may not, but hopefully you do. Now, obviously, the faster the runner you are, the more leverage you're going to have with the track and field coach because he wants you on the team. So he's going to do more for you because you have more leverage. You run faster. You score points. He wants you. He's going to be willing to do more for you. But if you're not, you're not the fast runner yet, well, you're going to have to try and figure out how it is that you can do your proper training. Maybe on your own or during practice. Somehow you can work it out so that you can do that. Now, a lot of track and field coaches are all obsessed with the team as opposed to the individual runner. And the reason for that is that the people who are asking questions, the important people who are asking questions about how well is this coach doing, are likely asking, how's the team doing? That's what we want to know. The alumni want to know, how's the team doing? Okay, so what does that mean? It's like, well, how many points did the team score at, the big meet versus maybe some competitor schools, rivals? So, the coach, in terms of keeping his job, is going to try to keep the people who can take his job away happy. So oftentimes the coach is obsessed with team results. Now, like I told you, track is really an individualized sport. It's not a team sport. But, but the coach may very well think it's a team sport primarily because that's primarily what he's going to be held accountable for, how the team does. Well, if you want to become an elite runner, you got to make sure that you're in individualized events and that you get those fat times on milesplit.com for college coaches to see. So, you probably should avoid running just solely on a relay, for instance, because you won't get those individualized fat times on MileSplit running the relay. But a relay is a team sport, so the coach may be whoa, I won you on the relay, right? Well, the relay is not that, it's not helpful at all, really, in terms of college recruiting for you. You want to get in those individualized races where you can have your own fat times. But maybe you go on the relay sometimes, but don't forget those individualized races. I mean, you need that if you want to be recruited by a college coach. You need that. But, another thing coach might teach you is about the relay and, handing off the baton and how to stay in bounds and where it is that you can, move into lane one. There's a lot to know about relays. That might be another thing they teach about. Or in cross country, what should the coach teach you? Everything he can about cross country. As what kind of spikes should you wear? What size spikes should you wear? What kind of shoes should you wear? Who's the best brand of shoe? What should you wear? How should you stay warm? How should you warm up? How should you stretch? Where you should run on the course. Hopefully the coach took you out to the course ahead of time and showed it to you, so you're not guessing during the race where you're supposed to go. Head coach should tell you about who the competitors are and what their times are and what they look like and point them out to you and explain where you should stand and how you should run the race and what the strategy should be. I mean, they should teach you everything. If you got one of these coaches who's tight-lipped, doesn't tell you anything, you got a bad coach. Sorry. You better be learning this stuff on your own because no one else is going to teach you. And that's another thing, even a good coach isn't going to be totally obsessed with your running career. So, you always have to take charge of your own career if you want something to be done. Other people, they're thinking about themselves mostly, not you. So you always have to take charge of what you're doing because, frankly, nobody else is going to do it. So, you don't rely completely on any coach. A lot of it has to be self-learned. You're the one who's going to have to find out what to do, or you're the one who's going to have to ask the questions. Some coaches, like people, are really bad communicators, and they don't tell you things that you need to know, or they assume you know something when you don't. So instead of acting like the teacher and repeating it over and over again or telling you something just to make sure you know it, they don't say anything. And frankly, they're a bad communicator, and you're going to have to learn this stuff from somebody else or on your own. That's just a fact. If you want to be an elite runner, you should be learning a lot of this on your own. Absolutely. No doubt about it. Reading articles on running, going to milesplit.com, they have all sorts of articles and videos and things you can look at. The internet, Google whatever issue you might be facing, see what other people have said about the question, or maybe YouTube videos about running. Learn all sorts of things from YouTube videos on running. There's thousands of them out there that you can find. You can go to classes even if you really wanted to, or go to the U.S. Track and Field website, association website, and there's even learning materials there. There's all sorts of places you can get information about proper track and field training, running, strategy, whatever. But you should be doing a lot of that on your own. Well, coaches are as varied as people are varied. Coach has a responsibility to develop your talent as a runner. That's what they should be doing. Developing you as an elite runner. Maybe they should be first telling you what an elite runner even is. Maybe you don't even know what that is. But that's their responsibility. they should be taking what talent you have and maximizing it to the furthest extent possible. If you're a serious runner, if they're not doing that, they're not a good coach. Plain and simple, they're just not. A lot of these coaches, some of them think that, track and field is about entertaining them. It's about them strutting around during meets, like, oh, look at me, I'm the coach. Or, hey, don't call me by my real name, whatever that is. Call me Coach, because I'm Coach Smith. You understand that? So a lot of them are just, in it for their own ego and entertainment. And that's unfortunate if you got one of those. But hopefully they also know a lot that you can learn from, right? But you can also get the ones like that who don't know a lot. Or maybe they think they know a lot, but they really don't. Maybe they have, they may say, oh, I've been coaching for 40 years, right? But they haven't been learning for 40 years. They have 1 year of experience repeated 40 times over. That's what they really have. You don't learn just because you happen to be doing the same thing for year after year after year. To learn, you actually have to be using your brain and learning new things and keeping up to date on what the newest advances are in, the science of running. It doesn't, just because you've been there for 40 years doesn't mean that you know anything. But people use whatever excuse they can come up with. But people, coaches are like people. They're varied. It's just the way it goes. And you have to deal with that. Hopefully you have a great coach, but you might not. Some of these coaches, maybe they learned their coaching a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And that's what you got. That's your coach. His coaching is from what they were doing in the 60s, right? He hasn't learned anything in 40 or 50 years. Hasn't learned a thing. And he's thinking, well, what I learned back in the 60s still applies today. Well, that's not true. And it's obviously not true. But so there's some people who say that, racing, track and field, it is an advancing science. And there are new things to learn on a consistent basis every year. And hopefully you have a coach who keeps up with the advances and the new knowledge in running or track and field. And who goes to courses and educates himself every year. Gets a refresher at least of what he should be doing. That's a perfect world if you have that sort of coach. Chances are you're not going to have that sort of coach. But perfect world, you do. There's some coaches who will tell you, well, it's all talent and genes, and if you get that special person who comes in and they can run really, really fast and win a lot, they're going to make the coach look really, really good. See, it's not really. They're telling you it's not really the coaching that does it. It's the fact that this runner is so great and they were born that way, but they make the coach look good. Well, that's not true. That's just simply not true. You can make people much better runners than when they start if you train them properly and you know what you're doing and you coach them properly. Who knows what their upper limit of ability is going to be? within a couple of years of really good training, you should probably have a pretty good idea of what their upper limit is going to be. But that's what a coach should be doing. A coach shouldn't be making excuses about, well, that person, they're great, they have great genes, they run really fast because their parents, they were great runners, or whatever, making up some excuse. Or a coach who blames the athlete instead of themselves. If you're a coach and the athlete doesn't do well, the first person you should blame is you. You did something wrong in your coaching. Your training was wrong. Or you did something wrong. You shouldn't be blaming the athlete. But, a lot of people, coaches, want to protect their egos. They blame the athlete. But what good is blaming the athlete? Right? How's that going to change anything? You blame the athlete. That's not very useful. If you start thinking about, well, how can I change the training? What did I do in the training, or how I was teaching them that, didn't get the point across? Or maybe I missed something. Maybe there's something for me to learn. Coach, there's a lot of coaches who are know-it-alls, but even the best coaches know there's always something more to know or learn. So maybe this is an opportunity for you as a coach to learn something. Don't blame the athletes. Think about what could be going on there. Maybe start using your brain as a coach to figure out, how can I fix this? Maybe there's something I don't know. Sometimes you get these coaches who, they can do it all. They tell you, oh, I can train distance runners, I can train sprinters. Well, I could train you to do the pole vault. I can do everything. Right? That's very unlikely. Very, very unlikely. I mean, you need a specialized coach if you can get one for your event. Very unlikely you're going to run into somebody who knows everything. But they may try to convince you that they know everything. Don't fall for it. Chances are they don't. They may be very good at one particular event, but not another. You look at a coach and you ask yourself, who has this coach developed in the past who was really great at their event or ran really fast? If this coach can develop somebody into an elite runner, well, then they can develop you into an elite runner. If you have the physical talent, or perhaps the motivation or whatever to be able to do that. Some of it's up to you, of course, and some of it's not controllable. Some of it's just pure talent. But look at who they developed in the past. Do they have a record of developing great runners? Because if they do, that's probably a really good coach you got there. But or are they taking credit for developing a runner that they really had nothing to do with? Somebody else developed them. But you're the head coach. Everybody assumes that the head coach is the one who's responsible for developing everybody who does well on the track. Well, that's just not true. Not true at all. The head coach may have had very little to do with the development of any particular athlete. But you assume that they were involved in it. Well, that's your mistake for making that assumption. Don't make that assumption at all. See if you can find the coach who actually developed this particular runner. If you get that coach, you're in good shape. Sometimes runners can come into a program already developed. They have a great outside coach that you don't know about. Well, maybe you can find out who that outside coach is and ask them if they'll take you on. You probably have to pay them, but maybe they'll take you on and teach you. Or, maybe they had, maybe earlier in their careers, they had some other school coach, who knows, maybe middle school even, who taught them a lot. and they've already come in the door already knowing a whole lot about running. And you make the wrong assumption that, the head coach or some coach at that particular high school was the one responsible for developing this athlete into the great runner that they are. And the truth is, no, they had nothing to do with it, really. It was somebody before, or maybe it was one of their parents. Parents often can be very good coaches. Or maybe it was an outside supplemental coach of some sort. You never know. So you try to find out what the real story was with these great athletes to see where it came from. Maybe it wasn't the coach. Maybe it wasn't from the coach you think it was from. You don't just assume that. And of course, some people do come in with pure talent. They run fast, and they've been running fast for a long time, and no one's taught them really anything about running fast. They're just fast people. If a coach gets somebody like that, their job is to make them even faster, right? Develop them, make them even faster. But maybe they don't do that. Maybe they're not that great a coach. But the athlete is still fast, so it still makes the coach look good. But did the coach really have anything to do with it? No, nothing. Really nothing to do with it at all. So you got to be careful about making assumptions about, who this coach really helped and developed or not. All right, because the coach probably isn't gonna tell you one way or the other. They're just gonna bask in their glory, but it may be, ill-founded, not true. You got to be careful about some coaches who will not put you in the proper event for you. Maybe your dream is, I want to be an elite runner at a D1 college. And maybe the truth is that in order to do that, you need to run the 3200. That's your best race. But you may have a coach who doesn't want you in the 3200 for some reason. Maybe they want you to run the mile or the 800, or maybe they just want you in a relay because maybe they score a lot of points that way and it makes them look good. But it really has nothing to do with developing you as a runner or your college recruiting. So you got to be really careful, because the coach's interest in putting you in a particular event may not be your best interest in what you want to do. But they may not tell you that. You may just assume that they have your best interest at heart. Well, some coaches don't. They have their own interests at heart, not yours. So you got to look through a lot of that smoke blowing by some coaches and figure out really what is your best event, and try to get into that event and do that event and focus on that event instead of some other event they want to stick you in. After 4 years, the coach will just say, bye. And that's it. Took no responsibility for your career whatsoever, and you didn't do as well as you could have because you relied solely on this particular coach when you really should be relying a lot on yourself. A high school coach could destroy your chances of being recruited by a college. Absolutely destroy it. How? By not teaching you what you need to know. By not developing you into an elite runner or an elite thrower, for instance. By putting you in events that really aren't your best events, and not putting you in the events where you could hit gold elite standards or silver elite standards. So by doing all that, they'd absolutely destroy your chances of being recruited. You got to watch out. You got to watch out for yourself. Coaches have a different agenda than making you, a college recruitable athlete. Be very careful. Take charge of a lot of your own training or your own development, and ask questions. If you think, gee, I should be running the 3200, really, I shouldn't be in this 4x4. Tell the coach, put me in a 3200, and tell him why. I want to get recruited. I need a good time for this. I need to develop in this race. Hopefully he'll let you do it. Maybe you can compromise somehow. Maybe you run both sometimes. I don't know. But don't just rely on the coach, because 4 years of high school go by, and if you're not hitting those elite times as a junior, you're not gonna get recruited by great colleges, great college track and field teams, and it's over for you. It's over. And your high school coach just waves you goodbye as you leave as a senior. Hey, you graduated, great job. That's it for you. You blew it. You got to take some responsibility for your own college recruiting. Don't rely on your high school coach to do it for you. Don't do that. That's a big mistake. Are there some high school coaches that you could rely on? Yeah, I'm sure there are, but I would say, generally speaking, don't do that. If a coach, some coaches, if you treat track and field like an after-school activity, that's all it's ever going to be, is an after-school activity. It's not going to be a great program. And, you get a lot of these high school coaches, and mentally, it's really just an after-school activity to them. And that's how they treat it. And it never becomes a great program, because they don't learn anything, and they don't have the motivation to make it any better than it is. And they just say, this is an after-school activity. That's it. Hopefully you don't get one of those coaches. I'm just looking at my notes. Albert Einstein said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. That's an important thing to remember. Especially, it applies basically to everything, but it also applies to, track and field. If you're not getting better, then you should try something different. Different sorts of training. Because if you just do the same thing, you're going to get the same results. Right? Now, that doesn't mean if you try something different, you're going to get better. But surely, if you just do the same thing over and over again, you're not going to get better. You're going to stay where you are. So if you want to get better, you got to mix things up. You got to do something different. You got to figure out, well, what is it that I'm not doing that I should be doing? Is there some aspect of my training that needs to be changed? And hopefully there is. If there's some aspect of your training that can be changed, then there's hope. Then that you could get better. It's when there's nothing else to change. You've done everything. That you hit a brick wall where, sorry, we tried everything and this is as good as you're going to get. That's it. Well, hopefully you don't hit that brick wall. You find something you can change, some improvements you can make. So you should always be thinking about improvements. What was my problem in this race? And what kind of training could I do that might fix that problem? Go in that direction. But you need to change things. Some coaches, they have the same training program for the same group of kids year after year after year after year after year. They never change it because they're too lazy to think. They don't want to change it because they don't want to think. They don't want to put the time into it. Or they don't want to, bother asking somebody else who knows more about it than they do to change it for them. Your track training should always be changing, improving. Putting in the newest techniques. It should always be developing, changing. If the coach does the same exact training year after year after year after year after year, and doesn't change anything, you're going to get the same results. Now, if he's getting great results, well, then maybe you don't complain about the lack of change that much. But if he's not getting great results, and he doesn't change things, he's not probably going to get better results. Right? That's another thing about coaches. You can look at, well, who did they train in the past? What kind of success did they have? That would, did they have a lot of elite runners on their team? Did they win a lot of championships or contend for championships? Well, if that's the case with your coach, there's a pretty good chance that this coach is going to be able to do the same for you. But if you have a coach who doesn't really have much of a track record of training anybody, any elite runners, or winning anything really, except for maybe small potatoes events, that's likely to happen to you, which is, you don't want that. But that's likely to happen unless, you take control of your own training, or you get supplemental coaching, or maybe you go to a different school, work for a different track coach. But that's what's likely to happen to you. Track coaches are like people, and there's all sorts of different types of people. Some people can be really magnanimous and generous, and some people can be really petty and retributive. And you better not do something to me, because I'll get you back. So track coaches are the whole spectrum of human behavior. Hopefully you got a great person and not a petty ego-filled person. But we'll see. It's just luck who you get. In training track, your coach really should be taking a scientific approach, sort of like Jack Daniels. There should be thought about what's actually going on in the body, at a molecular, even a molecular or cellular level. And this should lead a lot of what the training does and what it's intended to accomplish. There should be a lot of thought involved in why are you doing one sort of training and not another sort of training. It shouldn't be a thoughtless process. There should be reasoning, sound reasoning, based on the newest updates in science. Maybe these are things you learn at continuing education courses in track. Maybe your coach goes to this every year. And, scientists are always doing new studies, even involving track runners, and they are drawing new conclusions about this or that. And how can those things be brought into your own training program? And a lot of these seminars do that very thing. They tell you about these updates and how you can bring that into your training, your training programs. And there's a lot to know about track training or cross country training. A lot, and a lot of it is very detailed and put in very scientific terms. Don't kid yourself. It can get very complicated and very technical. And hopefully your coach has some appreciation for that and understands some of that. They're not going to be, know everything. But hopefully they take that sort of scientific approach to running and training. And they ask those questions and they learn new things. That's a great coach. Chances are you're not going to get that. Sorry. Track coaches. Track coaches, hopefully you get an honest track coach, but you could also get a very dishonest track coach. Some coaches pride themselves on, how they can trick the other team somehow to their advantage, or they lie about something. Track coaches are notorious for lying about seed times, for instance, to get their runner in a better position in a race, or lying about what time somebody ran or didn't run. So-and-so ran, this time at this race. No, they didn't. it's a handheld time, and that's why college coaches rely on fat times, fully automated times, electronic times, as opposed to these handheld times, because the handheld time is only as honest as the person who's holding the watch, who took the time. And some coaches, they're not honest. So don't kid yourself. You know, ultimately, hopefully you get a coach who's honest, who's interested in developing you as an elite runner, who's teaching you as much as they can about running, who's not hostile to supplemental coaching, who gives you a fair chance based on how fast you are, objectively speaking, isn't playing games based on seniority or maybe I don't know, they like one person's personality over another. Hopefully they take a scientific approach. Hopefully they admit what they don't know and suggest means by which you can find out about the things that they don't know. Hopefully they have your best interest in heart. Hopefully it's not about the coach, it's about the athletes to them. And hopefully they take pride in developing elite runners, and it's not about their ego and them. It's about you. And hopefully it's not just about the money they're getting paid to do this. Should they get paid? Sure. But hopefully that's not what it's all about for them. But then again, these are all hopes and dreams for a coach, and that may not be the coach you get. Take control of your training, especially if you don't get one of those perfect coaches. Coaches should be held, they should be held responsible for what they do. If they're not coaching well, then they should be gotten rid of. But they may not. They may not, because they've been in the school system for so long, no one's going to get rid of them. They know everybody. Not much you can do about that. But they should be held, they should be held accountable. And they should understand what coaching really is. And coaching is teaching, and taking an interest in everybody. And teaching them everything there is to know about running or track and field. And not making it about the coach. Hopefully that's what you get. All right? I hope that's what you get. But you may not, and you can take some other tips I gave you here today to take control of your own training so that despite a bad coach, you still become an elite runner and have a great running career. Okay. If you like what you heard today, please press the subscribe button below. I appreciate it. And if you have any questions, maybe I can put them in the comments below, and then maybe I can address them or do another video addressing some of those questions. All right, everybody, take care.